Alright guys, let's have a quick talk about Firesteel. I personally think that the Light My Fire Firesteel out of Sweden is the best quality Firesteel that you can get. It's what I use when I teach classes, is what I recommend for anybody who is a beginner or trying to learn how to be extremely proficient with the Firesteel. The two models I stock are the Army and the Scout. The Scout is a smaller, I believe it's about a 1/4 inch diameter Firesteel, and I set this up with my everyday carry with a Swiss Army knife and a little tinder tab that's in the kind of a zipper pull tinder tab. So that's the Scout sized. I like the Scout size for that everyday carry type stuff, for when you need a smaller, more compact. I don't think they're the best to learn on, just because you'll wear through them quite a bit faster. Let's see here. These are made in Sweden. From what I understand, they have a patent on the mixture that they use. And I would say over the last 10 years, a lot of the other Firesteels on the market have gotten quite a bit better. I'd say about 10 years ago, you had to be really careful of what you bought if it wasn't a Light My Fire or a quality name brand. A lot of the stuff people would call mish metal just really wasn't that great. You'd have to scrape it really fast to get a spark off of it, and to me, the reason why I like the Light My Fire, and I think it's the best, is because I teach and I like slow controlled sparks. If I can make slow controlled sparks with this Firesteel, I can light a flat piece of paper on fire. I can light feather sticks on fire. I can light birch bark on fire. If you have to scrape really fast to get a spark off your Firesteel, then you have a lot greater chance of like knocking your tinder off onto the ground, or knocking it over, or not hitting it at all. So definitely being able to, I teach taking the tip of this Firesteel and pinning down your tinder on some type of flat platform, log, ground, bark, whatever surface you have to work with, and then slow controlled scrapes towards that tinder in kind of a pumping action. I'll show it to you guys in a second here. And that gives you a lot of heat and spark directed in one spot, enough to even dry off the type of tinder you're using. If it's not, if it's been a little wet out or what have you, this will dry stuff off and start it pretty quickly. There is a lot of other good Firesteels on the market, but I can tell I've been using these for 15 plus, probably close to 20 years. And I can tell I've tested a bunch of other Firesteels on the market. I sell other Firesteels, and these are hands down the best in my opinion, for that reason of the hardness of the mixture they're using and the ability to give you a slow and controlled scraping action. They do come with a nice quality scraper, which if you're a beginner, I highly recommend you use the scraper. I use the back of my knife a lot, but if you are a beginner, that's probably not the best plan, because I've also cut myself before using the back of my knife. And when we work with students, I just rather they use the scraper just to get the hang of it and get the motor skills down. But yeah, these are fantastic. They are the best in the book in my opinion. So I'll show you guys in a second. I've got some birch bark and a little bit of fat wood, and show you guys the technique I use when I'm lighting stuff with these Light My Fire Firesteels. I probably have 3 or 4 of these Army size ones floating around. I got one in my pocket that's half worn out. They take a long time to wear out. So that 3/8 diameter, I know there's a lot of I see 1/2 inch by 5 and 6 inch diameter, really large Firesteels on the market, and that's great if that's your thing. I personally would rather have a couple of these tucked in different spots and tethered to gear, tethered to my knife sheath, tethered to maybe a saw, or put in a fire kit. I just feel like these overall are plenty big to be useful and very, very controlled for giving you like really good quality sparks. We just got done boiling our cowboy coffee here. I did a video on setting up a tripod with one cord that ties the whole thing together, and that you hang your pot from the one cord, and that cord also has an adjustable loop into it for adjusting your raising your pot up and down. So if you guys are interested in that, check that video out. I would absolutely say that Light My Fire Firesteels are the best. In the 20 years I've been using these type of ferrocerum fire starters, they are hands down the best. So definitely check them out. Recommend them for learners and people who are advanced as well. What I teach in my classes with the learners is that if you buy one of these, the first one you buy, wear it out practicing. Practice until this thing is worn down to a little nub. The second one you buy, you probably won't wear it out in your lifetime. They're that good. When you get good at using these things will last just about forever. This coffee's good. Beautiful sunny day here in northern Michigan. Had some snow last night, but the sun's out. We've still got snow in piles all over in the shaded areas, but the sun's out and it's melting this stuff fast. We're in the end of March here, so the sun's pretty strong right now, which feels awesome. Alright guys, here we are. I've got my Light My Fire Firesteel. This one has been well used. Still tons of life left in this thing. And I've got my mini spike. These are bush roots blades that I am making in-house in the shop. This is an ADCRV2 carbon steel Scandi grind. This is kind of a fixed everyday carry kind of pocket knife, still large enough to do stuff in the bush, and definitely like break down stuff for one stick fires and feather sticks and lighting fire. So yeah, if you guys like these, I'm making these in the shop right now, so definitely check them out. Got a couple other models I'm working on as well. Here's our stump. So here's the technique I like to use. I'm gonna use the back of my knife. Definitely recommend using that scraper if you're new, but I pin down the tinder and I want this rod at about maybe a 45-degree angle down, because I want to be able to push the knife into the side of the scraper. I call it the 2/3 rule. I'm using 2/3 of the force to push the knife into the side of the scraper, 1/3 to push down. So I'm making sure there's lots of contact into the side of the Firesteel, and then pushing down so it's digging in. And I'm going to use this pump action like this, back and forth. And that works extremely well for drying out tinder and that type of thing. Here's a little birch bark I grabbed on the way in. I'm not even going to shred it up a whole lot. I think with that technique, pumping it back and forth, I should be able to pump back and forth on this. And it's going to grab pretty quick there. So yeah, I like the idea of being able to pin your tinder down on something, you know, on a log, on a piece of bark, on a split piece of wood, whatever you have. That definitely makes it more stable. Stabilizing yourself when you're using a Firesteel is very important. This is little chunks of fat wood I pulled out of a stump. Let's see if I can. So I took a little piece of fat wood here and put a couple of really kind of horrible feathers in there. Try to get a couple teeny ones. And the one side is fairly flat, so I can kind of hold it down like this. Yeah, if you're trying to light feather sticks, definitely flatten one side so it thinks stable. Because I want to be able to take the tip of this thing, if you guys can see that, and push right down into those feathers. And not have it, well, we're going to carve this thing a little flatter. I really should have got a lot bigger piece for doing this, but we're going to see if we can work with what we got here. That's better. So we go flatten that thing down. You just pump back and forth here. And this will also dry out your tinder. That's probably just starting to go. This was in a really wet spot too, so it's probably soaking wet. It was sitting under the snow this morning. So let's see if we can dry that out from sitting under the snow. Oh, starting to go. Got some of it dried out, wanted to go. There we go. There we go. This chunk of fat wood was sitting underneath the snow this morning, so it was soaking wet. Yeah, so that's the technique I like using with these Firesteels. I like to really pin down the tinder, and I like to be able to pump back and forth with my scraper. I feel like that is, because of the hardness of these, I can scrape fairly slow and very controlled. If you have to scrape really fast with your Firesteel, it makes it more difficult. So I can scrape nice and slow like this and very controlled and kick out a lot of sparks to dry your tinder out and start fires. So highly recommend. Definitely check out my shop, Bensbackwoods.com. We sell high quality bushcraft and survival gear. So thanks for watching.